everyone, I'm Ace of Clay and welcome to another sculpting video. If you're new here, I'm a sculptor and every week I make a new sculpture. So the other day I went to Home Depot and I was checking out all of the new Halloween animatronics they had and I came across this guy. This is their version of the Boogeyman. I didn't buy him because he's out of stock, but I fell in love with his design. He's so creepy and so different. He's a very out-of-the-box design for a Halloween animatronic. Normally it's, you know, pretty standard like witches, grim reapers, skeletons, that kind of thing. But this guy's got something special, I think. So I thought instantly that I had to turn him into a sculpture, and that's exactly what I did today. I'm sculpting Home Depot's Boogeyman. And before we get started, Winston the Rabbit Guide, my original character, is a plush and he is available right now at aceofclay.com. I'm signing these, so if you want one, head on over to aceofclay.com. He's got all of his details, a hang tag with his entire backstory on it, everything's embroidered, he's got fuzzy hair, and he can't wait to come home to you. So again, check out aceofclay.com if you want to grab one. Oh, and really quick before we start, be sure to hit that like button if you enjoy this content, because what that does is it tells YouTube that you like my video and it allows it to be opened up to a wider audience. So if you got a sec, hit that like button for me. Alright, let's get our armature wire and start making the armature. And try to poke it into a hole that's too small. So let's fix that, force it in, and then start shaping out the legs and torso. And we're just going to attach the arms with another piece of wire. And to bulk out the torso, we're going to do it the old-fashioned way with some aluminum foil. Just going to shape that out and then make sure everything is nice and secure with some masking tape. If you've been here since the beginning, you know this is how I always used to do my armatures, and I just wanted to show you again in case you don't want to use ultralight. Now let's get that covered in clay and smooth it out. And you can see why I like using ultralight, because it gives us a much smoother surface, so we have less smoothing to do in this step. But that's okay. Now let's brush on some Bacon Bond to the legs and add our snakes of clay to that wire. Alright, now let's do that again for the other leg, but we'll speed through it a little quicker. And as you can see, I'm going for a more stylized depiction of Home Depot's Boogeyman with the long arms and legs and all that. Now let's pop on his neck and his collar. And once we've got that main piece on, we're just going to fold it over just like a real collar. And I'm not worried about this looking perfect because this is the Boogeyman. Now I'm going to add some folds and wrinkles to the torso so it looks like the fabric is stretching over his body. These are just tapered snakes of clay and I'm blending the edges in with everything else. Let's go a little faster than that. Alright, once our folds are all on, we're going to add the opening for his jacket with this flattened snake of clay. I'm going to blend the outer edge in with the rest of him so that it looks like he's wearing a jacket. Now he's got 2 layers of clothes on. Now before I add his buttons, I want to add some Bacon Bond, but I'm just going to dab this all over his button-up shirt just to give it a nice little texture. Now let's pop on his tiny buttons. And we got to finish off his pants, of course, with some more folds and wrinkles. 85% of sculpting clothing is sculpting the wrinkles on it. Alright, now I just rolled out some Cosclay and I'm going to create the fringy bottom edge of his jacket. And I use Cosclay because it stays flexible after you bake it, and I don't have to worry about any of these little points breaking off later. Now let's blend that Cosclay in with our Super Sculpey, and as you can see, it works perfectly. And I don't know if this is on the actual animatronic, but I thought it would be more interesting than just adding some more buttons. We're just going to add a little kind of sloppy string closure to the front of his jacket. I thought this added some interest. And now we're just going to pop on his shoes. And just like I did with the end of his jacket, I'm going to add some Cosclay fringe to the bottom of each leg. Now let's texture everything that isn't already textured with some more Bacon Bond and my Bacon Bond brush. And just like that, he's ready for his first bake. And while he's baking, let's move over here and sculpt his head. I'm going to create an aluminum foil core, and for the head, I'm using some Super Sculpey Living Doll. Living Doll, in my opinion, is one of the best polymer clays on the market. It is perfect for sculpting faces and small details, and it blends beautifully. You just have to try it to believe it. Now let's pop in his eyes to those big eye sockets we created, and we can start adding his upper and lower eyelids. And his eyes are a little sunken, so we're going to create a little indent under each one. Now I'm going to pop on his nose, starting with this teardrop shape that I'm going to roughly shape with my fingertips and refine with my tools. And he's got this sort of snarling appearance, so I want to make sure that I reflect that in the shape of his nose and with all the wrinkles that are going to be on his face. Now let's pop on his brow bone. He's got no eyebrows, just an angry brow. Now if you have to make two of something like this that needs to be symmetrical, add your rough pieces of clay on both sides first so you know how much clay you used for each thing. If you add the one side first and completely finish and blend it, you're not going to remember how much clay you used when you go to create the other side. I hope that makes sense. All right, we're gonna take a quick break from the Boogeyman to talk about our sponsor, BetterHelp. Thank you, BetterHelp, for sponsoring today's video. Mental health is so important. I know it's a regular struggle for me. It's especially important when it comes to being a content creator and making a new sculpture every week. BetterHelp is the world's largest therapy service, and it is 100% online. With BetterHelp, you can tap into a network of over 30,000 experienced therapists that can help you with a wide range of issues. To get started, you just answer a few questions about your needs and preferences in therapy. That way, BetterHelp can match you with the right therapist from their network. You can talk to your therapist however you feel comfortable, whether it's through text, chat, video, or phone call. You can message your therapist at any time and even schedule live sessions when it's convenient for you. If your therapist isn't the right fit for whatever reason, you can switch to a new one for no additional charge. With BetterHelp, you will get the same experience and quality that you expect from in-office therapy, but with a therapist that is custom picked for you, more scheduling flexibility, and at a more affordable price. If all of this sounds good and you're ready to start taking steps to better your mental health, head on over to betterhelp.com/aceofclay. That's better HELP, and you will save 10% on your first month. I have them linked below for you. Everything you need is in the description box below. Thanks again, BetterHelp, for sponsoring today's video. Now back to the Boogeyman. All right, let's finish blending that brow bone. Now using my Explorer tool, let's create some wrinkles. Now let's pop on his cheeks. We have to be careful with how we position these because we want to make it look like he's snarling still, so gotta be very careful. It's very subtle. Now his eyes have these little like stretchy pieces of skin over them, so we're going to go ahead and add those now. Now before I sculpt his mouth details, I just want to add a little more clay to make the mouth protrude more. Using my triangle gouging tool, we're going to add those little slits everywhere. And we're going to refine them with my Explorer tool. Now for the final step, of course, we're going to dab on some more Bacon Bond to give it a skin texture, and just because I really like how this texture looks. And now that the body is baked, we're going to attach the head with some more Living Doll. I'm not too worried about what the back of the head looks like because I'm going to be adding some real hair later. But let's go ahead and finish off his arms with some Cosclay. I'm making these out of Cosclay so that they stay flexible and I can reposition them after he's baked. And of course, we've got to add some more folds and wrinkles. And once that arm's done, let's go ahead and pop on a hand. And for the final step, we're going to dab on some more Bacon Bond, and if you're wondering, you can use Bacon Bond with Cosclay. I think it works great, and it doesn't affect the flexibility. After his final bake, it's time for paint. I'm using Army Painter War Paints and some Americana and Folk Art paints for this project. Let's start with that button up. After getting all my white on, I'm going to use a fine paintbrush to paint the gray around his eyes, just so I don't mess anything up, and then I'll go in with a larger paintbrush to paint the larger areas. Once my gray base coat is on, I watered down some black to create a wash that will soak into all of the nooks and crannies on his face, and I'm going to wipe off the excess with a paper towel and or my fingertips. Once that wash is dry on the face, I'm going to paint his scalp black, just so when I add the hair, if there's any space in between any of the hairs, you won't see it. Now let's take the rest of our black and paint the rest of his body. Now I'm going to dry brush some highlights on his face. I'm doing this by saturating my brush in the lighter gray color, dabbing it almost completely dry, and then swiftly brushing it on the surface like this. Now let's bounce back to the black and paint that base. Now the animatronic looks like he has bleach stains or like dirt splattered all on him, so we're just going to take a toothbrush and flick on some brown. And once the painting process is complete and he is completely dry, we're going to attach his hair. I'm using Fabri-Tac fabric glue to attach it, and this yarn that I brushed out. Fabri-Tac is going to give you the best bond between polymer clay and fabric or other textile materials. And I just want to carefully add the hair in sections. Now let's give him a little trim. And for added effect, I'm going to add some little wispy thin pieces hanging down in front of his face. Very creepy. After fidgeting with his hair a little bit, we can call this guy done. Now say it with me. And he is done! My version of Home Depot's Boogeyman animatronic is complete. Let me know how you think I did in the comments. I think he's cool. I like him. Again, I think this is one of the most original looking animatronics that I've ever seen really from any company. I like the addition of the yarn hair, and I think he's cool, and I want to know what you think, so let me know in the comments. And as always, thank you so much for watching and being here. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Check me out on Facebook, Instagram, X, formerly Twitter, TikTok, and Threads at Ace of Clay, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.